Chairman David Deanda,
Present.
Vice Chairman Forrest Reynolds, Secretary Treasurer Ezequiel Reina,
Here.
Director Alonso Cantu is absent, Director Juan Carlos Del Angel,
Present.
Director Frank Pardo.
Here.
And Director Joaquin Spammer. He called in that he wasn't going to be able to make it. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We come today to bow our heads and open this meeting in prayer. Thank you for the opportunity you give us to serve you and to serve others. We ask for your blessings on this meeting. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Chairman, we have Senator Eddie Lucio in the audience, and he'd like to make a presentation to the Board of Directors.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Deanda, and members of the Hidalgo County Mobility Authority. I am just very pleased to have this opportunity to come before you and just have a minute or two to reflect a little bit on what I'm feeling right now as I step down from public office at the end of this year. I just wanted to, I would be remiss if I didn't thank you for the opportunity to be your state senator here for the last 32 years. I was also in the House of Representatives, and I always took joy in voting for other communities other than Brownsville, where I was the state representative for 4 years, because that's what we need to do, be good neighbors and come together and work together, regardless of where we live, east or west, north or south, what party affiliations we belong to. It's important because we do it for what the prayer just said, to serve others and to serve our communities together as one Valley family. That's so important to me, not only as a public official, but also as I consider myself a man of faith, and I think that that's we should follow the incarnate word. I wanted to thank you again for that opportunity that I've been given by the people of the Valley. I also served 12 years in county government, so I understand the importance of and the closeness of government to people, like county government is, and they play an incredible role on a day-to-day basis. But you, in your role, certainly have an opportunity to hear our leaders at the local level and better understand what the transportation needs are, and work with them and try to work with state and national leaders so that we can have the resources that are needed to build the infrastructure that will bring economic prosperity, create jobs, and do all the wonderful things that we're looking for that will have a positive impact in our community. So I want to add that since 2016, Texas has spent nearly $56 billion on our state highway system. Nearly 1/3 of TxDOT's budget is from federal funds. Texas expects to receive $35 billion from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act signed into law by President Biden on November 15, 2021. As you know, this project will provide TxDOT with federal funding for the next 5 years. $26.9 billion will go toward federal highway programs in Texas, $3.3 billion for public transportation and in rural and urban areas, $537 billion for bridge rehabilitation and replacement, and $408 million, to expand the state's electric vehicle charging network, $390 million for general aviation airports, and $35.48 million for the construction of ferry boats and terminals. I'm hoping that all that money is dispersed starting from the valley up instead of from the north, from the panhandle down. I had to add that. I think you'd like to hear that. In 2019, I co-authored Senate Bill 500, which allocated $125 million to TxDOT from the Economic Stabilization Fund to provide grants um, to counties for eligible roadway projects through the Transportation Infrastructure Fund. Now, you all know, and maybe some that are here or watching or zooming in might not know, but you all were established November the 17th, 2005, created by the Texas Transportation Commission and the Hidalgo County Commissioners Court to accelerate needed transportation projects in Hidalgo County. That was an incredible, wonderful move and something that needed to happen. And the rest is history, good history, and what has happened. Now, overseen by a 7-member board of directors, the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority is committed to finding ways to empower the local community to take charge of the future of the community's transportation. And of course, the purpose is to provide Hidalgo County with opportunities to accelerate needed transportation projects through the direction of a local board, making local choices about local mobility needs that enhance the quality of life and economic growth for all residents in our region. And finally, from 2002 to 2020, Hidalgo County has invested over $607 million into its highways and streets, and over $418 million into the urban and economic development, which encompasses public transportation. And also, one of the things that some people might not know or remember, after the census in 2020, Hidalgo County was had just a little under a million in population, which put it as number 8 in size in a 254 county state. So Cameron County was 13th. So we had 2 counties down in the valley, a little over 1.1 million people. We're growing. I'm hoping that we can continue to find men and women like you who will continue to serve, understand the issues, work together with people, and come up with great solutions for the future of our great region of the state. I wanted today to leave just a token of my appreciation to each one of you, let you know how grateful I am that I had a chance to maybe work sometimes behind the scenes. You didn't see me, but in Austin, I just got back actually at 1:00 this morning, and I drove through an incredible storm coming out of Austin. But I went up there to try to talk about funding issues still. My job's not through, and I know what you all go through as well. I have for each one of you a beautiful Texas flag that I was able to dedicate 7 of them. And the first one is to an incredible friend of the valleys, incredible friend of mine who I respect so much. I met him in 1990, and he has gone and done so many wonderful things, impacted a lot of areas of the valley with his work. But he's one of your members, and I know he's an integral member of yours, Mr. Alonso Cantu. And I join you and his family. I understand that he lost his mama today, and that is unfortunate. All I can say is that I will be praying for him, and I ask all of you to join in prayer, because I believe in the power of prayer, and you do too, that we can bring a little consolation to the beautiful hearts of the Cantu family. They're just in behalf of all of us, my son, myself, and all the ones that I work with every day, my staff, my heartfelt sympathy to Mr. Cantu. And I would like to leave this flag with you, Mr. Chairman, so we can present him at a later date. I now have, I'm just going to read the names, and it's a beautiful flag as well. They're all the same. I'd like to present this one to Francisco Frank Pardo, Director. Congratulations. Joaquin Sparrow. Juan Carlos Del Ángel, Director. Ezequiel Reina Jr. Forrest Reynolds. I could talk about your family all day. Thank you.
Been a while.
When I saw you, I said,
Right. That's right. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I want to present you something very special besides the Texas flag. Being chairman of a committee is the most important position. This is the identical same gavel that we use in Austin, Texas to have our meetings up there. Every committee has this gavel right here. And I present it to you, sir. And for future boards that will be conducting business, you will pass it to the next chair and so on and so forth. And here is your Texas flag. Chairman. Thank you for all that you all do.
Appreciate that.
And I wish you the very best.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And, I meant it when I said, let's start from the bottom up.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you. Here.
Chairman, Directors, the next item on your agenda is a workshop item, number one, a review of the quarterly investment report for the period ending June 30th, 2022. In your packet is our quarterly investment report. If you look at it, we had our beginning balance, all funds was $220,706,340. We had expenditures in the amount of $44,936,406, leaving an ending balance of $179,314,900. We have our funds invested in local government investment pool and in government securities. If you look into the report, our weighted average yield on the investment pool is 0.8350%, and on the government securities is a little over 0.5%. So our revenues, our investment earnings for this period was $81,369. So, any questions?
Expect that to go up. I'm assuming. No question.
No.
And the disbursements were primarily for construction, 365 Tollway to our contractor Pullis.
there any questions? Ask for an adjournment of the workshop. Get a motion? Motion and second. Second. Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Chairman, you do have a quorum, 5 members present.
No public comment?
Chairman, we do not have any public comment.
Okay, let's go ahead and go over reports.
Yes, sir. So we'll get item 1A and 1B, report on program manager activity for the 365 tollway and the IBTC environmental clearance document, and a report on construction activity for the 365 tollway. Ramon Navarro will be making both reports.
Good evening, directors. Thank you for the opportunity and bringing you an update on our construction schedules and our proposed advancing of the IBTC project and the sub-projects we have affiliated with the 365 project. As you know, we let the project to Pullis Construction in early November. We issued notice to proceed on the 365 toll project in March. This thing's got a lot of delay. There you go. Issued on February, we issued notice to proceed, and time started on March 17th. We've got 1,264 calendar days. It's a continuous calendar day project with the exception of a few holidays. To date, we've executed 3 change orders, all affiliated with the value engineering change proposals. The project continues to progress on time and in budget. We are anxiously awaiting capturing the VECP projects or the changes that were proposed, quantifying all of the quantities and the actual designs of the engineering stamped and sealed issued for construction set of plans that we will be utilizing to track and keep and monitor the overall costs that we agreed to at the end and divvy up at the final production payment in hopefully September of 2025. We continue on with the payments. We had a week payment this month of approximately $409,000. We are anxiously awaiting materials and finding specific dirt to meet the requirements for the levee and the embankment materials. The contractor continues to search local sources and is unable to obtain the parameters required on this dirt. It's very specific as far as the levee, and they're holding they'll hold us accountable. So we are being stringent with our regulations and our specifications, and overseeing the project for IBWC. We continue, as I said, moving on with the project. We've used approximately 154 days as of last Thursday, which is approximately 12% of the project time, and we've produced 14% of the project's outcome. So we're a little ahead of schedule. We did work in the VECP formalities into the schedule, and those are anticipated to be completed at the end of September. And we anticipate going to work with a lot of the underground and the irrigation pipe structures. Right here, you can see some photos of where we have prepped right-of-way. The greener patches are the areas of archaeological findings that we need to maintain protected. This is looking towards the west at McCall, Jackson. Where do I point it? Where do I favor? Okay, we have received pipe. The crew started this week on the west end of the project at the Ansalduas port of entry, placement of the underground drainage. We've got a lot of work to do with the underground, and they're diligently going to work on that. We have completed the drill shafts on the structure at Highline Road. Highline is the eastmost bridge structure we have connecting to the 365 phase 3 project we have on 281. And we will continue monitoring the substructure on building up the bridge and the structure on this area. Crews have moved on to the floodway. clearing the, prepping the locations and commencing vents 2 through 15. We're going to work with the drill shafts and diligently working on those. They're producing about 2 drill shafts a day, and that is a little under what we have scheduled, but they're working on it. They're working on getting their crews together. With that, I'd like to announce that we are diligently working and on the toll collection system installation project. We have that forthcoming, looking forth to letting that early September, coming before the board in the latter part of November or early December with a short list of possible constructors and conducting interviews and awarding after the new year for the toll integration system project. We continue to work and partner with our with federal agencies and our local Valley Land Fund partner on the wetland mitigation site. We're working with the conservation easements on that, and we've gotten the extension for the permit, the construction permit with the Army Corps. That has been extended as we anticipate letting this prior to the end of the year. This is where we're going to be planting out the gardens and the green areas, putting in a well at the site to be able to have a water source. And we'll bring more news as the details develop on this. That pretty much summarizes 365. Any questions on the 365 project before we go into IBTC? Go on to IBTC. The IBTC project is, as we are well aware, is a 13.2 mile project that legs in from the east end of our 365 project. It extends into the proposed Valverde, and with a north connection up to I-2 and continues on to FM 493. We have been working for some time with our partnering agencies. There is some information as far as the sections and the cross details of the proposed sections. This is phase 1 of the build out, our proposed build out. We have, we continue to work with TxDOT on the environmental justices on this. And we just recently, Thursday, submitted the final review of the environmental analysis and assessment. We anticipate a response to that prior to the end of the year, so we can continue on with our advanced engineering and right-of-way acquisition. In addition to that, we continue working on the funding plans for the alternative corridors, which means we'll have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C on the finance and the build out. We have applied for a mega grant on this project, approximately $127 million. We're awaiting news on the recipients of the awards of the recipients early in September, early next month. If this comes through, we'll be working very quickly on bringing this project to shovel readiness and going forth with construction by early 2025. They'll continue on to the overweight permits. We've got a healthy spike in the overweight permits. This month, this clicker is really slow. Moving on to page 29, you'll see that we had a healthy spike in our overweight permits. We went from 3,526 permits at this time last year to 5,927. It was a 68% increase in comparison to what we had at this time last year. And as far as the ultimate build out, there you go. You can see the level of increase in the spike in the overweight permits in the area. And we have the overall economics. We preaching to the choir as far as costs and interest, but everything maintains itself at a consistent rate and increasing with value. The only thing that stayed pretty steady this month was ready mix concrete, not the cement, but everything else has been skyrocketing as far as costs and prices. Any other questions or concerns I may entertain at this time on the projects?
Well, the obvious question is why such a huge increase?
On the overweight permit, sir?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
That would be contributable to the seasonal growth, and I think the locations of the industry itself producing a more plausible corridor, or a more, I should say, efficient corridor going in and out of Mexico. I think there may have been some issues in Arizona with their blockades, et cetera, just like what we had a couple of months ago here locally. I think they had something going on in Arizona last month at the same time, and that may have contributed to some of the crossings also.
The border officially opened back up.
That question, I could look that up, sir, and I will get that information back to you, sir. Any other concerns, questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Chairman, this helps answer the question on why overweight permits are up. The number one commodity we're seeing coming or we're issuing permits for is produce. That's the number one commodity, and that's what we've seen an uptick crossing with overweight permits coming across and using the overweight network. So,
Pilar, I mean, that may make sense, but is there any way, or have you ever, and maybe that's such a huge increase. Did whoever's charging the toll or whatever, is there any way that you can talk to 10, 15, get a micro exam of some of the drivers and asking them why they're coming? There's got to be a real reason why there's such a big increase. 5%, 10% you can understand, but that's a huge increase.
yes, sir. I can visit with the
We're in the transportation business, so we need to know the real reason. I respect y'all for trying to guess or estimate or do a professional response to it, but I mean, this is the real deal. This is a lot of trucks going through that are overweight and getting permits. We really need to know why, and if it's consistent or if it's just a 1 month or 2 months or quarterly or whatever may be this seasonal or whatever may be the reason. But I think it would behoove us to really get a grasp of the real reason, okay? If you can.
Yes, sir. No, we can. I'll visit with the Pharr bridge staff. They probably have some very good data.
Right.
They track it on a daily basis. I can tell you, Director, that year over year, the permit system went live in 2014, and year over year, we've had growth. We've never had a decline in permits, and year over year, they've grown every single year. It's just that this particular year, it was quite a bit more growth than we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing in the neighborhood of about 3% growth, and this year it's looking closer to 10% growth. So it's almost tripled what we're used to seeing. But we'll get you an answer to see if we can pin down what is accelerating that growth. And the only answer I have for you today is that we know that it's produce that's coming across, but we'll find out what's driving that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Chairman? Chairman, Directors, the next item on your agenda is a consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the governing body and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. However, if discussion is desired, that item or items will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
Motion for approval for the consent agenda. So moved. Motion, can I get a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carries. Go to resolution 2022-45.
Yes, sir. Chairman, Directors, resolution number 2022-45 is consideration and approval of contract amendment number 1 with LNG Consulting Engineers to increase the maximum payable amount for work authorization number 2. Back in June of this year, the board approved work authorization number 2 in the amount of $51,023.48. But we failed to add the item to increase the maximum payable amount for the contract. So this is just some housekeeping for that work authorization already approved by the board. So staff is recommending approval, and it takes the revised contract amount to $2,816,372.51. Staff recommends approval.
Are there any questions? Not entertain a motion for approval for 2022-45.
So moved.
Have a motion by Forrest,
Second.
second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Resolution 2022-48, consideration and approval of a one-year extension for the professional services with Hilltop Securities.
Chairman, directors, on June 28th of 2020, and again on December 15th, 2020, the board of directors approved a 6-month extension to this agreement with Hilltop Securities to be the authority's financial advisor. And so they assist us on all our financial issues, primarily with our debt obligations. Staff is recommending that the board of directors approve a 1-year extension for the professional service agreement with Hilltop Securities as a financial advisory services.
Are there any questions? Not entertain a motion for approval to consider a one-year extension to the professional services with Hilltop Securities.
So moved.
Motion by Forrest, give me a second.
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Resolution 2022-49, consideration and approval of an amendment to the 365 tollway wetland mitigation conservation easement in favor of Valley Land Fund.
Chairman, directors, back in August, on August 24th, 2021, the board of directors approved a conservation easement that was granted to the Valley Land Fund as part of our wetland mitigation for the 365 tollway project. And basically, anywhere that we impact wetlands as part of our acquisition and construction, we have to mitigate that with creating new wetlands. For the simplest way to put it. So Valley Land Fund, they're in the business of conservation easements and keeping land in its natural state. As part of that conservation easement, we needed to include a stewardship agreement, and that basically the Valley Land Fund will monitor that on behalf of the authority to ensure that we're meeting our wetland mitigation requirements as part of our permit issued by the Army Corps of Engineers. That's what's driving this wetland mitigation, is our permit from the Army Corps. And so we've got an agreement, and the cost to monitor that over a 5-year period is $28,000. Staff is recommending approval of the amendment to the conservation easement, excuse me, to include a stewardship agreement.
What's the term?
It is a 5-year.
And the 28,000 is for the 5 years, or is
For the
that?
5 years. for the
Okay,
entire 5
it's not year over year.
What happens after 5 years?
So basically, at the end of 5 years, we're done with construction, and we just need to make sure that we meet the obligations of our permit from the Army Corps of Engineers. And the land stays in as a conservation easement with Valley Land Fund.
As far as our financial obligation.
That's correct. We're done until we still have a land bank. We didn't put all of the land in conservation. We only put the portion we needed for the 365 tollway. We still have land in reserve that when IBTC comes online, we're going to have similar permits from the Army Corps. We're going to have similar wetland mitigations. And so then we'll have to invoke that land as you know, as a conservation easement to the Valley Land Fund again. And we'll have probably another separate stewardship agreement. So we've got about 35 acres in play on this
Specific to
365. Yes, sir.
Financial obligation goes away after 5 years.
Correct.
Once the project's
Completed.
permitted and
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah, we meet our obligations for our Army Corps permit. So we've got about 115 acres total, and 35 have been pledged for the 365 tollway.
This is the two we talked
Yes, sir. Staff recommends approval.
Are there any questions? Not gonna get a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion, can I get a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion carries. Resolution 2022-51, consideration and approval of supplemental work number 2.
Yes, sir, Chairman and Directors. HDR is our program manager, our contract program manager. And you heard Ramon report on how we're preparing the procurement documents for the toll system integrator. That's basically all the hardware and software that goes behind the scenes to basically register vehicles, count axles, classify vehicles, and basically generate the toll. So HDR has been helping us prepare those documents, which is a bid set all unto itself. It's estimated at this point to be about a $10 million procurement for that equipment. It is budgeted. It's part of the project budget. We have it included in the budget. But HDR has helped us prepare those documents. And so we're recommending a supplemental to a work authorization already approved by the board of directors, work authorization number 3 for this work in the amount of $88,206.93. Basically, this is technology is really what it amounts to, and technology is constantly changing. We initially designed this back in 2014, 2015, and technology has changed. The toll industry is constantly changing. TxDOT is one of the agencies, CTRMA, Central Texas Regional Mobility Authority, Cameron County RMA, Northeast Texas RMA are all the kind of the agencies that we're dealing with, and we've modeled parts of this procurement. But one of the things they all struggle with is the technology is always changing and becoming obsolete and requiring upgrading. And so as we went through this design process, a lot of what we had initially specified became obsolete and had to be updated. And so this is basically what the work is, to update it to the latest. Yeah, they say technology becomes obsolete about every 6 months. You know, it's
Moore's law.
yeah.
So remind the board how HDR is compensated and how we work with them.
So HDR has a contract with the authority, and we work it on a work authorization basis. So we figure out scope, we figure out level of effort, we bring it to the board, and the board approves it. So we approve it basically in blocks as they go along. They don't have a blanket contract, indefinite quantity, indefinite delivery. The board awards it as tasks are needed to be completed or needed to be worked on. That is correct. So this value is $88,206.93. Staff recommends approval.
I have a question, Pilar. So the supplemental is for design, or is it for the procurement documents?
The procurement, and it's a little bit of both. HDR actually, we had a different designer for the original design, which was Tetsi Infrastructure. Yeah, and so they've basically taken over the work and updated it. So HDR. So now they're the designers of record for the toll equipment and toll integration.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion for approval of 2022-51. Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion carries. Resolution 2022-52.
Yes, sir.
Consideration approval of supplemental work number 1.
Yes, sir. Chairman, directors, this item is for basically we had to update our schematic for IBTC. As we went through the environmental clearance process, and we received public comment and input from all the authorities having jurisdiction, the regulatory agencies, Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, et cetera. It required us to update our schematic on the project, and this is just part of the environmental process. TxDOT also has changed some of the parameters along the way that also required us to update a portion of the schematics. So the value of this work is $85,846.48, and staff recommends approval.
Give me an extra, I guess, change order or not really?
No, sir. So this is just, we're in the environmental clearance process. So this project has not been fully designed. This is just the schematic. Yeah. And so this basically just gives a bird's eye view of where the right of way that encompasses and where the actual roadway will fall within that right of way. And so we've had to update that because we've had to shift it or moved it or change a curve or as we went through the process to address some comment or concern.
Any other motions? If not, entertain a motion. So move. Get a second.
Second.
In a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2022-53, approval of contract amendment number 6, professional services with HDR.
Chairman, Directors, and this is just to increase the maximum payable amount to the contract with HDR for the 2 supplementals you just approved on the agenda. The contract is going to increase, the aggregate amount of the 2 work authorizations is $174,053.41 for a revised maximum payable amount of $2,946,206.23. Staff recommends approval.
Motion Morris, in a second.
Second.
Carlos in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Resolution 2022-56, approval of utility relocation agreement with the military water supply company.
Chairman, Directors, this is a water line relocate on the 365 tollway project with Military Water Supply Corporation. This is a 50% compensable utility, and so this will be the authority's participation. This is budgeted. Our participation will be in the amount of $117,000, and staff recommends approval. $117,138.63 is our participation.
Can I get a motion? Salute. Motion by Carlos, got a second?
Second.
Second. Fourth, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Carries.
Chairman, Directors, I believe we have no further business for your consideration. Oh, we got, we have no further business for your consideration.
Questions, concerns? Got it. Or adjournment? On the motion. Second, opposed, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay.
Thank you.